Let me introduce myself briefly, if I could. I'm Paul Hofheinz, and as Gertrude kindly pointed out, I'll be chairing the sessions today. So I'm sorry to say you'll be hearing an awful lot from me, even though I understand that none of you have come here to hear from me today. You've actually come to hear from these extraordinary group of speakers that we have assembled for this conference. But let me first of all thank Gertrude and of course the Vice President for making time to be with us. But also let me thank you because we think it's really tremendous that you're all here today and that you've shown a commitment to this cause, which sounds, frankly so boring on the face of it. I mean, interoperability, what on earth is that? But we actually know it's a very exciting thing. It's the interface between the state and the citizen. It's absolutely vital that we get this right. We have technology now that will allow us to improve, and I just wanted to say, who says public administration's boring? I actually think this is really exciting, and I can see you all do too, because you've taken time out of your busy schedules. I have a lot of questions for these two, and maybe we start right now. Vice President Ansip, I won't bother going through your biography, because I think we all know it. A very distinguished time as Prime Minister of Estonia, a very long time as Prime Minister of Estonia, in which some very important reforms were taken. There's a lot of talk now in Europe about sandboxes, and I actually think Estonia was a tremendous sandbox for the digital agenda in your time, so thank you for that. Everyone talking about digitize this, digitize that. My question's a pretty simple and direct one. What does this mean in the context of public administration? What does digitalization mean for public administration? Thanks for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me. It's my pleasure to be here. Digitization is taking place everywhere. Every day we can see that our economy and our life is more digital than it was yesterday. So, and I think governments, they have to take a leading position. Leading by example is really important for all of us. For me, e-governance means that we can save both taxpayers' time and money, and this is a question about efficiency. So when those digital solutions are available, then I'm sure people, they will start to use them. And those solutions provided digitally, they are cheaper than those old-fashioned solutions still using papers. In the country I know best, we figured out that just because of e-signatures, digital signatures, we were able to save 1 working week during the year. It means 2% from our GDP, which is equal to our defense expenditures. So defense expenditures in Estonia, they are coming from digital signatures. And once again, I would like to underline that this digital identification is really important, and digital signatures, they are somehow basis for digital governmental services. But the digital identity, it does not mean that it has to be based only on smart ID cards, something like this. Every day we are using some kind of digital solutions. For example, here in my phone is bank app, really comfortable, using just fingerprint, and then I can transfer my money. So it works. But in Estonia, we gave to our citizens a single digital identity in a very early stage. And it was a really useful decision. But it took even 6 years when Estonians, they gave their first 1 million digital signatures. And then in the year 2007, we implemented so-called once-only principle. State has right to ask for information only once. Second time is prohibited. State has to remember, and with my permission, to use this information once again. And this gave a real boost on usage of digital identities and on usage of governmental internet-based e-services. It was real hockey stick effects. And now Estonians are signing digitally more than 1.3 million times during the week, and population in Estonia is 1.3 million inhabitants only. So e-government, it means there will be more transparency. And if there will be really transparent environment, then it means that basis for corruption is not the best one, and not everybody will be happy about that. So e-government, for me, it means also that that people, they will get maybe their first digital skills. If people, they will understand that those internet-based e-solutions, they are really comfortable solutions, they are really efficient solutions, they will start to use those solutions, and later on they will ask for that kind of solutions from private sector everywhere. It works. I believe in bright future of e-government.
Thank you very much. Gertrude, we all know you. We all know you're Acting Director General of DG Informatics right now. I think what many people, probably most people in this room, but maybe not all, don't know is that you've been the inspiration behind the ISA². It was formerly your department that prepared and presented this program. So you're a perfect person, not just to organize a conference like this, but to be here with us today to discuss and talk about it. I guess my question is also a very simple and direct one. Is digitalization enough? I mean, some people say that this is an experts-only topic. Do you agree with that, or what do you think is going on here? What's its importance and its role in the society around us?
Thank you very much for the question, and thanks for accepting to be here as well once again. Well, digitization is certainly a big step forward. It's something that we need to do, but it's not enough in itself. If we digitize, if public services become digitized, but that data and services do not talk to each other, we risk actually digitizing bureaucracy. So we will have the same silos not talking to each other, but in a digital format. So that doesn't really help. So it's much more than a technological issue. On the basis of the services that we could, where we see examples of good steps forward, is we can take a traditional issue like tax declaration, the annual tax declaration that is traditionally done on paper, but that most member states now, or maybe all member states, actually do online, and it's used more and more. If we do it online, it's digitized. But if you also then add the previous year's income in a pre-filled form, and if you also add information from other sectors to help the declaration, for example, the vehicle cadastre or other sectors, then that becomes a truly interoperable service, an end-to-end service, which will save a lot of time and effort for both the citizen using it and for the administrations dealing with it. So this is a good example of good way forward for digital services. And this then needs to be done across the board and across sectors, and if we can do that, we can save a lot of time and money for public administrations. They can become much more efficient and effective. Plus, we have a completely different perception by citizens of what a digital service is and what administrations can do. So this is very important. But to get there, we cannot only rely on technology, because technology can do anything. It can overcome any barriers. We know that by now. But we need to look at the whole picture. We need to look at other layers above technology, about how administrations talk to each other. What are the legal barriers? What do we want to achieve in the public administration? So this is really a whole picture that we need to look at to get there. And for that, we need, of course, a plan. We need a plan to know where we are going, what we are achieving, and how to get there. So the overall idea. One very important issue here, I think, is exactly the perception of the quality of services by the citizens, because the raison d'etre of public administrations is citizens and businesses. So this is very important. And they don't care how many back offices are involved in the service. They just want the service, and they wanted to give their information once and in one place and not be bothered again and just have the results back. And this is extremely important for public administration. And I think this is what we have to aim at.
Thank you. Vice President, I'm sure you know, far be it from me to tell you what's in the DSM, but two very important components, of course, the national interoperability frameworks, these famous NIFs, and the European interoperability framework as well. It's a reasonably open secret that some of the member states are having trouble with this, trouble implementing it. My question to you would be, what can we do to make it easier to implement at the member state level? How can we work and collaborate more to achieve some of the goals that we've been discussing here?
It's common to say that data is the oil of digital economy, but interoperability is the pipeline that makes the data flow. In some EU member states, they have a special layer which allows cross-usage of data through relatively small databases. In Finland, in the country I know best, in Estonia, of course. And we can talk about real interoperability inside of the country. Talking about e-taxport, this interoperability makes it easy for our people and to our businesses to submit those tax declarations. So those tax declarations are there in the internet, that they are pre-filled already because of once only principle and interoperability solution. And it takes just 3 minutes to check figures, and then within the next 5 days you will get money back from tax department. So hopefully, yeah. In some countries there are only good tax departments just paying money back and never asking for any additional money at all. So kidding, of course. But anyway, it's very comfortable. In Estonia, for example, 95% from all the people who submitted their personal income tax declarations last year, they used this e-taxport. It's very comfortable, and it's possible just because of interoperability, which is a reality in some countries. Let's take e-prescription. It's reality in many EU member states, in Sweden, in Denmark, in Finland, also in Greece. Near to 100% of medical doctors are issuing e-prescriptions. But when people, they would like to travel from one country to another country, then paper is still needed. So there is lack of interoperability, and lack of interoperability is based on lack of standardization, and paper is still needed. Let's take our businesses. If some kind of information is needed from another country, from their business register, then once again, paper is needed. Digital information is not able to cross borders in a trusted manner. And now I think regional cooperation in meaning of interoperability is really needed. I don't want to talk so much about Estonia, but I'm coming from Estonia. Estonia and Finland are cooperating in this meaning, and this X-road system is acceptable or is really well working in both countries, and we can cross-use information in certain areas already. But we have to pay much more attention on our interoperability framework on the level of the European Union, because today we are just wasting our time and taxpayers' money traveling from one country to another country just to bring some papers. It's not needed. So, and that's why I'm talking about the pipeline. which makes the data flow.
Thank you. Gertrude, the Vice President spoke very well about what's happening at the member state level, but what about the broader stakeholder community involved here? How can we interact with them and involve them, and what do we need to do to get the kind of long-term collaboration we all know it's going to take to make this vision that Vice President Ansip sketched out so vividly of a paperless world when it comes to public administration?
Yes, thank you. Collaboration, it goes without saying, because this is about collaboration. It's about breaking silos. If we don't do that, we will not succeed. So I think this is a starting point. It's important for the Commission services to collaborate, first of all. And here we have a very good example in the digital single market that Vice President Ansip has led in much more collaborative fashion than what we're used to. It has facilitated the work between services. We find synergies much more easily between different DGs. And this is what we're pursuing very, very vividly, together with any other service that has initiatives in the area. So that is very important. We also need to collaborate at European level among administrations. And one of the occasions to meet, to network and to talk about these things are this sort of events, this conference, but also on more political level when we decide on interoperability priorities and pursue them together in a firm plan, a strategy. And we have the European interoperability strategy that we're working with, revising now, that will help us coordinate around that. And then also nationally and locally we need to collaborate. So member states need to have a functioning collaboration between their different levels and sectors in their administrations. And this is often one of the most important or most difficult barriers. We know how widespread these responsibilities are and how difficult it is to find ways to link together in a meaningful way that works for interoperability. And we do also, at the highest level, need a framework. And there we have, I would like to talk about the European interoperability framework, or mention it. We're going to talk more about it later today. So the framework gives us the plan for how we can usefully concentrate around the same priorities and principles.
Thank you. I have this too. Vice President, if I may, I'd like to ask the same question of you. How do you see that we're going to engage with stakeholders? How will you get feedback from them and draw on the experience of citizens in business? As we know, the famous ISA² is, of course, ISA, Interoperable Solutions for Public Administration, plus business, plus citizens. And it's the latter part I'd like to ask about. How do you see them interacting on this, and how do you plan on working with them?
It's absolutely clear that those digital solutions, they have to be very comfortable for our users, for end users, for our people. And if those solutions that they are really comfortable, easy to use, and people they're able to understand how it works, then people will start to use those internet-based e-solutions. All the stakeholders, let's say, will start to use those digital solutions because, as I said, it's a question about efficiency. If it works, people, they like to use them. Once again, here in my mobile phone, there are many apps, but there is also ING Bank app. So look, here it is. What I have to do? Log in. Okay, log in. What I have to do? Push finger somewhere. So here it is, my account. I can transfer money. So it's so easy. And I would like to say all those e-government solutions, they have to be like this. In some countries, there are some kind of digital signatures. But when it takes 3 minutes to sign, then we don't have to blame on stakeholders, on our people who are not well educated or something like this. You have to try again and to provide better solution for our people. Now I have to log out because maybe somebody else will transfer my money. But, yeah. So, but it's really important to have user-centric solutions, and it works on. It's the same on all levels. On municipal level, yes, different solutions, specific solutions. Then on regional level, the same story. On central government level, those solutions, so they have to be very comfortable, easy to use, easy to understand how it works. And of course, there has to be interoperability between all those levels and horizontally. So then it's really comfortable when there is one's only principle in reality also available for our people, then I can guarantee those solutions that they will be comfortable solutions and people they will use. You don't have to make any kind of advertising campaigns. People, they will pick up immediately that kind of solutions. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I add something to that? And this is something, of course, we are in the same situation as everybody else, the Commission as an administration, and here the Vice President is asking us to accelerate our measures to also be as digital and interoperable as other public administrations, and we're working hard on that. So I just wanted to add that.
Yeah. Of course, optimism is our moral duty, and I'm also looking forward quite optimistically. But today I'm not ready to say that I'm extremely happy with those solutions we are using in the European Commission. So everybody has to log into 7 or 17 different websites during the day. The people, they have to remember, but you have to remember also those different passwords, and then you have to change those passwords after every 3 months. And what people they're using for passwords? Names of family members and their birthdays, or plate number of your car. Those people, lucky people as me, they have assistants, and the assistants, they have to remember those passwords. But those people who don't have assistants, they are using those yellow stickers and on their keyboards. So about what kind of security we can talk about having that kind of password system? Why it's so complicated to use mobile ID, for example? ING Bank is able to use mobile ID. In the country I know best, people, they are using mobile ID. SIM card in my mobile phone is based on my smart ID cards. There is no need face-to-face recognition on every corner anymore. State is guaranteeing this identity already, and it works. It's very comfortable. Why I have to have different badges to enter in one building, then to another building, another badge here, and then to a third building, somebody has to pick me up, and then I can enter. But why it's so complicated to put all those identities on one mobile phone, for example? So, but I have to look forward optimistically, and I would like to say we are working with those issues on the level of the European Commission, and leading by example is something what we would like to take very seriously. Thank you.
Well, by the way, thank you for that. I absolutely agree. I think the European Commission is really in a position to lead by example here, and I look forward to seeing how you do that in coming years. Gertrude, the Vice President cited some statistics at the beginning about the savings through e-signature. 2% of GDP in Estonia, enough to cover their defense spending. I think despite figures like that, the amount of savings we all know we will get if we more enthusiastically embrace this technology, other people are saying it's simply too expensive. I'm wondering what you have to say about that. Is it too expensive? And maybe you could say a little bit on the benefits side as well. What do we get from the investment that we're making through programs like ISA²? What are the benefits ultimately?
The benefits of interoperability and this type of services that we're talking about, we cannot afford not to go ahead with them because they bring so much quality to people, to citizens, to businesses, to administrations. They save so much time that in the long run, there is no doubt that this is really an investment we have to make, both for quality and for efficiency. So I would say it's not the question of not going forward, in my mind.
Yeah. I don't think those digital solutions, they're expensive solutions, but I think in all levels, on municipal level, on regional level, on central government level, we have to ask why we would like to digitize some services. If people they think that oh, it's just fancy to have digital solutions, then better not to deal with those issues. But if you have real aims to save time, to save money, then go ahead. Let's take e-procurement. It's really highly developed in Portugal, for example. But on basis of analysis prepared by the European Parliament, we can say that if e-procurement will be available across the European Union, then we will be able to save 50 billion euros per year. Huge amount of money, which we don't have. But we are wasting anyway, this money. Talking about e-signature or digital identities once again. Yes, in Estonia we were able to save 1 working week during the year. But we can say that this digital identity is useful in many areas. For example, service providers, they don't have to create always new identities to their customers. They can use this single digital identity guaranteed by the government. And it makes cheaper. Those digital solutions, they are much cheaper than in case you have to develop always new identities, to create new identities to your customers. In Estonia, they are paying for all those public digital services 50 million euros per year. Salaries are included. In Finland, they are paying 2 billion euros. Finland is a little bit bigger than Estonia, but not 40 times bigger than Estonia, just 4 times bigger than Estonia. In the United Kingdom, they pay for those public services 20 billion euros. Huge amount of money. And as we all know, in digital world, all has to be scalable. So if number of customers will be bigger, then price per customers has to be cheaper. But we can see that just because of strong single digital identities in some countries, people they can get all those digital public services practically free of charge, and in some other countries they have to pay really high price for those services. So once again, I would like to repeat that e-government solutions, they make life easier, and those are really efficient solutions.
Okay, thank you, Vice President. We're right on time, but I'm going to ask one last question if I can, and it's a very easy one. Is there anything that you would like to add to this? This has been a very rich discussion about an already very fertile topic. What messages would you like to leave with the group here today? And by the way, feel free to issue a challenge, because I think too often we think Commission Vice Presidents and Director Generals have all the answers, but really the answers are somewhere in the interaction between all of us here today. Feel free to leave a challenge and not just a commitment. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Life is going more and more digital, and I would like to encourage all of you working in local municipalities or in regional authorities and central government level, in private businesses, to provide more and more digital solutions to our people. But as I said, those solutions, they have to be really comfortable solutions, easy to use, user-centric solutions, and then people, they will start to use those services. And if people, they will start to use those services, then we can save taxpayers' money. But we have always to remember that those internet-based e-solutions, e-government solutions, they have to be digital by default, open by default, and cross-border by default. So don't even think on the 21st century to create some kind of government solutions which are not digital by default. It's dead end. Open by default. If people, businesses, they submitted once their data, state has to remember and to use this information with my permission once again, and cross-border by default. Today, we know that 18 million people in the European Union are living somewhere else, not in this country where they were born. 35% of Europeans are spending at least 10 days during the year in another country, in another EU member state. And we have to provide those e-government services also for those, our citizens who are living in another EU member state or who are just traveling in another EU member state. So cross-border by default. So I would like to thank for being here this morning, and when back home, then please remember about digital default, open by default, and cross-border by default. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to pick up on the last challenge by Mr. Ansip. Many of you who are here today are the people who can make this happen. So I would throw the challenge back to you. Take at least one commitment during the day before you leave of initiative that you will take this forward in your respective areas. And have fun during the day.
Thank you. And on that note, I would like to thank our two extremely distinguished panelists, both for taking time from your very busy agendas to ask questions and discuss with us, but also for your service. Thank you very much for what you do for Europe and what you do for the digital single market. Can we have a round of applause?